What's the culture within your organisation in relation to that? Really pleased to see about the Lloyd's Innovation Lab. I think it's brilliant. I think it's starting in September. These are the 5 streams. Love the wildcard one. Really interested to see what's in that. Lot of activity here. And for me, it's a 10-week sprint program. Whatever you do not let the quiet sucking sound of the centre ruin these startups. Get slow move towards, let's just fill that form in, whatever. Slow sucking sound of the centre. Don't let it inhibit these new innovative companies that want to thrive, and don't, whatever you do, say how. Say wow. Rising InsurTech. There are plenty of InsurTech companies out there, and increasingly moving into the London market space. This is just a selection, but they are everywhere, and they are all attracting a lot of investors sitting behind them with bulging wallets. We'll see some examples in a moment. So lots and lots of InsurTech companies on the rise, and the ecosystem is buzzing. So there's accelerated demo days, dedicated VCs, networking communities, magazines, articles. The industry is really, really buzzing in what's happening here, and there's a lot going on. And these sorts of events are fantastic because it's sharing that, and you're not just looking at your own area, you're looking across the field. So I was at one of these meetings last week, and this was just a selection of the companies that were presented. Flock I'll cover in a minute. Concirrus, who's heard of Concirrus? Okay, a couple of people. So it's real-time behavioural insights software for marine insurance. It's called Quest. I love it. It's kind of IoT for vessels. In my view, there's no difference between a vessel and a home. If you can have a connected home, you can have a connected vessel. Great. Chain that is a blockchain solution, and there's loads of others. So it's just examples of innovations that are taking place. One in particular really struck me that wasn't on there. It's called What 3 Words? What 3 Words is a new way of defining the globe, the Earth. Okay? Forget long numbers of longitude, latitudinal spaces. They've defined the Earth into 3 square metre sections and given each one 3 words. Okay, so here's when I was writing this, I thought, I'll put in where I'm writing. So here's my home. My home is, in fact, not my home. It's my 3 metre square of my office in my home is now Drew Rich's Stowe. What's the impact of that? That means that from an insurance perspective, you can insure right down to a specific part of a building. You can send deliveries or claim damage to a particular part of a field or a building or area. There are some 4 billion people in the world who don't have an address because it's just that there's no streets or whatever. So they've got 3 words now that define where they are. So I think this is going to be a game changer. I found out about it last week. I think it's just one of those interesting technologies that or approaches that go, actually, that can make a big difference. So changing business models, peer-to-peer, not so relevant for you guys. Social enterprise, Lemonade giving away some of its profits to the charity that you nominate, which means actually, if you make a claim, you're robbing from the people in Africa and the children in Africa who need that food. Okay, interesting perspective. Parametric insurance, the obvious parametric insurance is death insurance. So once you die, that's it, you get a payout. But there are some interesting examples coming along using that same principle. So flood flash, they come and put a device on the side of your factory or your house, and if that flood flash device detects water, flooding, you instantly get a prearranged amount of money in your bank account. Just like that. And no, putting a bucket of water over it doesn't work. Okay? It really doesn't. Flood flash. Think of the claims processing. Think of the lawyers you've not had to employ. They might even go out of bit. There's no lawyers here today, are there? No. Fizzy, another example. But also, last one, changing models in terms of insurers moving towards preventers of claims and losses rather than assessors of risk and losses. How can you help a marine owner take care of their fleet better so that there's not a loss? So what are these startups trying to do? I'll cover this quickly. They're redefining what insurance means. And actually what a lot of their terminology is about, we're here to help, we're here to revolutionise. Those big insurance companies aren't treating you fairly, so they're redefining what insurance means. They're establishing trust with the end customer. They're making it frictionless to do business and therefore cheap. They're offering a data-rich experience and making it mobile anytime, any place, anywhere, and making it very, very clever with AI, etc. So, importantly, they're making it based on what the customer wants to do, rather than this is the way that the market has operated, this is how we do stuff here. No, this is actually what the customer wants to do. And interestingly, in a moment I'll talk about the kind of blockchain initiative. I was talking to somebody earlier this afternoon, and he said the reason why that new blockchain, I think InsureWave with MS Amlin, XL Catlin, Willis, etc. The reason why that has made so much traction is because Maersk, the customer, said, I want it to happen. Here's an example of an insurtech from Israel, where they put a dash cam in your car or vehicle or commercial vehicle or whatever, and that with the smartphone they know when you've had an accident, and they give you the claims underwriter the last 10 seconds before the crash and the 10 seconds after the crash, and an AI report on that whole incident that says this was the state of the traffic lights at the time, this was the temperature, this was the weather conditions, this was the speed of the other car, etc. All data rich in a PDF to the claims underwriter within 24 hours. I think that's pretty cool. It might even put a lot of lawyers, do we want to pay lawyers to settle claims? No, this is a great example of using data very quickly to settle claims. I love Flock. Who's heard of Flock? A couple of people. Young startup. It's only been going 6 months. It's just secured another £1.5 million of funding. Its mantra is to change insurance through real-time underwriting. And they're using it at the moment for drones. So if you are a drone owner, you don't need annual policy. You only need to go in the field. When you're in the field, wanting to fly a drone, you use your smartphone and you say, all right, this is my location. Well, you don't actually have to say what your location is because the phone tells Flock where your location is. It then does a geospatial risk assessment of the exact location where you are, overhead power lines, water, by an airport, etc. And it also remembers how you flew the drone last time you flew it. And it gives you a rate. So 10 quid for the next hour, off you go. I think that's pretty impressive. And I was at a conference with Paul the other day, and we said, well, where couldn't you apply this principle of real-time risk assessment and pricing and customer interface using a smartphone? And the only thing we said was, well, critical illness, really, you wouldn't do that. But anywhere there was a thing that you're insuring, you could apply this. Another great example is Cytora, which is using AI it looks at 100,000 sources of data and within 30 seconds comes up with a risk assessment on a commercial entity. I think a brilliant, great use of data, but I need to move on. Casco, small company in Switzerland and also in the UK, they offer InsurTech as a service in that they provide a platform for you to go and innovate very, very quickly out of the box. Great guys to have a look at. And then if you've got lots of legacy infrastructure and IT systems, then Outsystems is a low-code development platform where it allows your guys then to click and drop functionality to spin things up very, very quickly. And this is making increasing use in the insurance industry to basically be able to try things out quickly. Blockchain for shipping, I think this is really, really good. But the key thing here is it was driven by the customer. How many other things that the customer wants to drive aren't at the moment? Amazon, popping pills. This was last week. Amazon rocked the healthcare sector by announcing it will buy American online pharmacy pill pack for $1 billion. Why is it doing that? It's doing it because it wants to radically overhaul the healthcare sector. And will they do that to insurance? Well, I don't know. At a conference last week, we had a courtroom debate. And the motion of the House was, Amazon could become the largest insurer in the world in the next 3 years. And there were big debate. We had for the motion, against the motion. It was really, really good debate. And you know what? There were 19 people voted for the motion, and exactly 19 people who voted against the motion. It was hung, and I was asked to vote, and I wouldn't. But big debate about what Amazon's going to do. What can it do in London markets? Amazon also just filed a patent for a flying warehouse. So they load this thing up, fly it over a city, and little drones come up, take things, and deliver them to people's homes. Fantastic idea, but you don't think, well, what happens if these little drones run out of batteries, run out of charge? Well, it's okay, because on the top of lampposts, they filed a patent to put a charger point on the top of the lamp, so they just go there, charge a bit, and then go back up. This stuff is happening. This is an example from Outside Insurance, because this is from the Nordics. These guys, the Swedish startup, is radically changing how banks operate in Nordics, and they have basically opened up 300 banks via an API to access their customers' data, presumably with their permission. But that's then allowing that rich data set to be used by anybody who wants to use it and pay for it. Could they do the same thing for insurance? What's special about this house? It was built in 4 days by a 3D printer. Uber NASA to launch electric flying cars by 2020. Yeah, it's coming, and they're trialling in Dubai at the moment. So how best to navigate through this? And really, I'll go through this quickly. Focus on the customer, what the customer wants, not what you've been doing so far, and really think about from their perspective, and maybe even ask them. I think the blockchain example is a great example of doing that. Also make it business focused, business opportunity focused, rather than as a sweetie jar, this is a latest technology that's come along. What is the real business benefit and tangible business case that we can get from this? Be flexible, adaptive, trial things quickly, and you need the infrastructure to be able to do that. Experiment, but minimise the risk. And have a real sense of urgency. Do you guys have a sense of urgency about London market? Access to and maximum use of data. You guys sit on vast quantities of data. Do you make the best use of it? I'm not sure. There are also third parties who, and you can generate data very, very easily from IoT devices, smartphones, etc. Always surprise and delight. And then in my mind, the most important bit is actually the culture of innovation. How do you get that innovation? How do you create that culture of innovation? You get what-if people. I love what-if people because they just go, well, why don't we just do this? Or why don't we try this? And let's just do that. So young people generally have this. They haven't had 25 years of experience in insurance. So they often go, well, why don't we just do this? And you go, well, how's that going to work? And they go, oh, yeah, that's good. Fair enough. Wow, not how. So getting a culture of innovation people is really, really, really important. At last week's conference, I organised 3 millennials to come along, and they had a great time telling the audience about what they should do with insurance. I loved it, absolutely loved it. And of course, that you can't say that they're wrong. Oh, no, you should still expect to be able to print off paper in your home. Well, they said, well, we don't have printers, and none of our friends have printers, so why on earth are you going to be printing paper off? I've got to go to my parents' house and access the printer. But they were really, really good. But the Chris, a guy from AGS, he said at the end, actually, he believes that there's a millennial in everyone. They just don't get out that much. So in summary, insurance is absolutely critical. The Lloyd's London market does a brilliant job, but disruption is arriving. What an opportunity to create a truly digital London market. There's a millennial in everyone, even you, and me. It's about having that thinking. And when customers benefit, market benefit, and you benefit. And at the end of the day, it's not how, but wow. That's me. Thank you very much. My mantra is as digital as possible, but human where it counts.
London Market Forums, bringing insurance professionals together.